While the cat may appear uninterested, without a single care in the world, she's actually green with envy. She doesn't get to come with us to the Emerald Passage, and emeralds are green, and that's the best I got. Okay, I'm trying my best over here. So the Emerald Passage is a natural works, but nature is more descriptive, I think. Nature-themed passage that's also served as like an extended tutorial teaching us more of the game mechanics, which makes me feel that it's probably the intended direction to go. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and point this out right now. I feel the intended direction to go is counterclockwise going from the entry passage. That's, you know, not like, oh, this is the thing I think and is very unique just to me, but that's kind of just the general consensus. But I just wanted to point that out if you wanted to play along and want to play ahead, because it's a very good game, and, you know, episodes only come out, you know, so often. So, hey, please play this game. It's very good. Something I want to point out is, you know, this passage has 4 levels, and yes, the background music is doing that. That's not an emulation problem. The background music just does that. It's interesting. Okay, it's a good game. This passage has 4 levels, and that's kind of the standard fare. Levels, and the main passages will have 4 levels as opposed to the 1 that we saw in the entry passage. So that's enough dilly-dallying. Let's hop into the Palm Tree Paradise, because Wario, whoo boy, he's had a rough time going through the tutorial level. Our buddy Wario needs a break, and he's going to take that break on a relaxing tropical vacation to a very, very welcoming island. Hi. So, I've mentioned that I like the soundtrack, but this just rules. There's a lot of like vocal sampling in this game just to show off like, hey, the Game Boy Advance sound chip isn't that bad, even though I think it is actually kind of that bad. But they do God's work in this game. I'll tell you what. This song rules, just with this lady just singing very softly to us in Japanese. It's very nice, and I love it. And you can't actually get that crystal unless you activate the red block that we're seeing right here. This outline, there's a block we'll hit, and, you know, a block will appear that we can stand on. That's pretty standard video game fare. Figured to just point it out right now while we're at it. While we're pointing out things, spearmen are a very common enemy that we'll see all throughout the game. And we saw them in the Hall hieroglyphs, and I was changing their color, but I didn't talk about them too much, even though I mentioned it with those bumpy buddy enemies whose names I can't think of off the top of my head. They give you more money when they're red, but they become more aggressive and will rush towards you. That's pretty standard fare. Well, it's actually not that standard. I think those are the only 2 enemies in the game that do it. But the spearmen are so common that it feels like saying standard fare is warranted. So this is an interesting thing. There's a fake wall here, but it has a pretty good tell in that you can see the grass of the platform sticking out a little bit behind the wall. And also there's a nice little platform here that doesn't really do anything to kind of beckon you over and maybe experiment more with the wall than you probably would have initially. It's nice. I normally complain about fake walls in these games, especially in these Wario Land LPs, but here's a good usage of it in this game. I don't think there's actually too many fake walls in this game, because I can't think of another level off the top of my head that does it. But hey, it's good that they do it right when they do. And that's enough of fake walls, because what we got here is a purple pipe. And when you go through a purple pipe, you enter a purple pipe puzzle room with our friend, Professor Arrow Stein, who is our projectile of choice. So purple pipe puzzle rooms are just kind of nice little puzzles that use game mechanics in ways that you typically don't have to interact with them. Like that one was pretty simple. You just throw a thing at a thing and you're good. But we'll be seeing like way more complicated versions of that as we go on. It's nice. There's typically 2 per level, with one exception. There's literally one exception in the game. I guess there's technically 3, because there are 2 levels that don't have any purple pipes. Like the Hall hieroglyphs didn't have any. So there's 3 exceptions in the game, but there's 1 level that doesn't have 2. It has more. We'll talk about that later. So this is also a fake wall. The tell for this is there's that skull there that might make you want to interact with it, but I don't really like this one as much as I did the other one, because as you can see, like these platforms go into the wall but aren't like fake walls, whereas this one actually you can kind of see it end sort of, and if you actually go through you can see it end with the wall, so maybe that's the tell that's a little bit different. But I wish the platform kind of went into the wall a little bit more, so it wasn't just the skull, because the skull could also be nice window dressing. That thing I just picked up, other than the jewel piece, was a CD, a compact disc. It's how we stored music in the year 2001 for the Game Boy Advance. It's Wario Land 1. It adds a song to the sound room, which does exactly what it sounds like, and you can probably guess what kind of song it added to the soundtrack. It's probably not that complicated, probably. Also, they have the skull here, but you can't actually swim there. I guess this is probably the tell that there's something going on beyond here, although I think there was a thick block here, so it's not super hard to figure out. Oh, I should do something about that. But let's talk about what just happened to us. Wario became Fat Wario, interacting with the transformations. So transformations are back, baby, which is nice because I feel like they're kind of the heart of Wario Land gameplay. So it'd be criminal to make a Wario Land game without transformations, or to scale them back too far. I'll just throw that out there. But the transformations in this game have been consolidated a little bit. In Wario Land 2, when the transformations were introduced, there were 11 transformations. In Wario Land 3, there were 14 or 15, depending on how you feel about Electric Wario, which is just a stun state, and I don't feel like it's a transformation because it doesn't really change up the gameplay in any way, or any meaningful way, I should say. In this game, there's only 10, though. They kind of consolidated them down, because in 3 especially, there were a lot of kind of like useless ones that was just like, oh, you become a ball and you roll, and that's basically it. Fat Wario, oh boy, I should have talked about this faster. You're heavy, you can break thick blocks by just jumping. You don't need to get the extended ground pound speed. You're a bit slower. If you walk far enough, you'll burn off the calories and you'll become normal Wario, or if you hit water, you're good. We'll talk more about transformations later. What I do want to talk about is this wall. So we can't break through this wall, even if I were to do a dash attack. As you saw, I got the after images, even though I cut it close there. We can't break through this wall. But technically, the 2 blocks just beyond the 2 I'm walking into currently are still breakable, I believe. And then just beyond there is a cave with a diamond in it that is still in the game, but you don't have any way of accessing it unless you were to hack. And that's just something interesting I saw on the cutting room floor and thought I'd point it out. But what it's time for is it's time to... I thought I missed the frog switch for a second. It's time to interact with folded levels once again, and for real this time. So this folded level is just kind of backtracking where we... Did I go in here? I think I went in here. Oh yeah, I totally went in here. I was on autopilot and just completely forgot. So, folded levels... Oh, I didn't kill you. We're getting distracted a lot when we should be running away. Folded levels play out more like this, where you have a longer distance to go to get back to the end, rather than it just, like, kind of, coattailing in on itself. And this is a very basic form of a fold. I want that red gem, even though we already have the thing. And just keep stopping. So yes, we have to backtrack more, and this level's kind of boring in that you just backtrack through the level and you're good. But typically, levels can be way more interesting in how they use the folded level design. In fact, I think the next level has a way more interested application of it. But to be fair, this is kind of an extended tutorial in which it was like, hey, you actually have to escape the level for real this time. It's kind of neat. Just a nice little extended tutorial. That level could have just straight up been the tutorial of this game, but since this game lets you tackle the levels in any order, having the Hall of Hieroglyphs made a lot of sense, so you kind of learn all of your mechanics there and can just do whatever you want. Even if this passage is probably the best one to go for if you are a new player, or if you're a person like me who just likes to play things in order because you're weird. Oh, something I should also mention is that the CDs, the compact discs, they're optional collectibles. You don't need to pick them up. But once again, if you're a completionist, you gots to do it. And it's time for the Wildflower Fields. I'm gonna go ahead and just throw it out there that I don't like this song nearly as much as Palm Tree Paradise, just because that song rules. This theme is nice. It's a nice, relaxing, pastoral theme, which we immediately ruin by becoming Puffy Wario. And anytime you become a transformation, the music distorts. It also happens if you were to ground pound. And I meant to do it in the last level because the lady's voice warbles, and it kind of makes me giggle a little bit because I'm 4. I'm secretly 4, guys. But yes, we become Puffy Wario and immediately collected the compact disc for the level. So Puffy Wario is a nice transformation. It's kind of one of what I feel is one of the poster boy transformations. Even if it gets shaft later on, we'll talk about that later. Rest in peace, Puffy Wario. This game, it gets the whole kit caboodle and is super cool. So Puffy Wario, you get hit and you float until you bonk your head on something, whether it be a spike or a ceiling. You just float. But in this game, and I kind of did it but didn't mention it, you push B and Wario kind of like huffs and puffs and gets some like a burst of speed, which is super nice because then, you know, it's a little bit faster. You don't have to wait as long, but it's also player driven. So like if, you know, you're not comfortable with the game and like, oh, I need to angle myself, you don't move at, you know, full throttle the entire time. But it is there for like, you know, seasoned players, or if you're going through a super long just like passageway, you have some options and it's nice and I enjoy it. I also wanted to get stung there just because I wanted to show off that miscolored vine, because it's something I think is very interesting, and we'll be talking about it later, because I think it actually rules, and this Beasley is going to be in my way, so it gets the stomp. Something I didn't mention was that transformation enemies typically don't drop spoils, and that's because they'll respawn, whereas normal enemies don't respawn and will drop spoils. Not too notable, but I thought I would just mention it just because it's interesting, and I want to be as thorough as I can. These molemen, I believe their Japanese name is just like Mogura, which is kind of boring, despite the fact that they're very clearly not just moles. They have drills on their face, so there's a bit more going on there than just a mole. Which also leads me into something interesting. The enemies in this game don't have like official English names, I don't believe. Maybe there was a guide printed that had them somewhere, but there's not official like ones by like Nintendo, I don't think. And if there are, they've been like their names have been wiped from the internet and or never placed on the internet, which is strange because it's the internet and everything's there, no matter how little or weird or hard to find it is. So a lot of the enemies have just names that are just straight up and down, like in Japanese. Like that worm, there's like an Imomushi, which is probably just Japanese for worm. A lot of them are like that. Like these bees, I think they're called Breezelies, or they might be Beasley, but they've been in previous Wario Land games, so that might just be what they were called there, and they just were like, oh yeah, another bee enemy, we'll just keep the name. We'll go ahead and let you flip your spear so I can go ahead and squish it. And I just wanted to ground pound there to show you that the music warbles, because I mentioned it, but I didn't actually do it. So let's continue onwards. We've seen 2 transformations. A transformation didn't happen while I wasn't paying attention, did it? No, we talked about Puppy Wario. I was so worried for a second that something happened, and I didn't think about it. Is this our first puzzle pipe room? Did I do a puzzle pipe and just like completely forget about it? No, I think this is our first puzzle pipe of the. Oh no, I need you to go the other way, my guy. There we go. When you ground pound, things that are like knocked over in this like stun state will shift, and you can kind of play with them depending on where you ground pound to kind of shift them in different directions. Like when I was to the left of him, he went to the right. When I was to the right of him, he went to the left. That's something that can be annoying if you don't know it, and you could have some difficulty with it. Something we also did there with Professor Aerostein is I jumped off of his head for some extra distance, which is a pretty standard platforming thing, but I felt the need to mention it just because in some games you can't do it. So it's just always nice whenever you do it and you can actually do it. And there we got a heart, even though we didn't really need it, but hey, I'll take it, whatever. Also, Wario can walk over like gaps as long as you keep moving, which is nice. He won't just immediately fall. It's kind of like how when Mario's running, he won't fall into gaps. And let's see if we can go ahead and get this Goggly Blade. Yeah, there we go. So Goggly Blades are enemies that you kill by just bumping into their soft belly. And also, I'm just going to go ahead and just let you guys know this is a breakable block. And there's a nice little like seam there that might make you more interested in exploring or checking that out, I suppose. Not exactly exploring that. Oops, I did a bad job at swimming. Swimming's a thing we're doing right now, by the way. There's a water level coming up soon, so we'll talk more about swimming, but swimming's pretty standard in this game. Press B for a burst of speed, press A to go up faster, and that's how the cookie crumbles, I suppose. But yes, something we've been doing a lot in this level is using our heightened smash attack, or I believe that's like the official last name. I normally just say like strong ground pound because I'm boring and dumb. We've been using it a lot in this level, kind of teaching us whenever you fall a great distance, you probably just want to go ahead and use your heightened smash attack, just because, like, hey, if you have the distance, you might as well just check it out and see if you get something for it. It's typically not, too hard. Like, sometimes you can mess yourself up, like, if you're falling and there's a trail of gems, like, you may start moving too quickly and miss out on grabbing some of them, but it's normally worth the commitment just to check it out, and I'm just going to go ahead and show this off right now before I forget about it. If you leave Wario stationary in water, he starts to just panic and just flail about in the water, which is really nice, and also maybe a nod to his animation in Wario Land 3 before you learn how to swim. It's nice and cute, and I enjoy it. And it's not something I didn't know that was in the game until my most recent playthrough. And oh, actually, we can hit you from the side when you're going up. I didn't actually know about that until recently either. But I didn't know about that animation in the game until like my last playthrough of the game. Like I put the game down, decided to go do something. I came back and was like, oh, what the hell? I didn't pause. But then Wario's just sitting there. Oh, he's not standing there because he is in fact swimming. He was just panicking. It was cool and good, and I like that animation because I always love Wario's flailing animation in Wario Land 3. I always thought it was super cute. Which isn't something you typically hear people say about Wario, but Wario is one hell of a cutie, might I say. Oh wow, that's only our second gym. That always surprises me because it feels like you're farther in the level, but then you find like, oh man, I only have 2 gems. Weird. Because a lot of the times they like to save gems that you can only find in the post fold. So sometimes you won't be able to find them all before you hit the frog switch, and you don't need to panic about that. But I will go ahead and tell you, I always panic about it. You know, just the feeling of, oh God, where is it? I don't have it. I'm about to hit the frog switch, and I'm gonna have to like book it out of here. This could go bad real easily. But typically, normally it's fine and good because, you know, this game is fine and good. Spoilers, I think this game is fine and good. Oh, can we? Cool. I was worried that we were going to land on this. What are these guys' names? Oh man, I can't think of their name either. They're like Blade Warrior, something dumb like that. I don't know. They have a weird Japanese name I can't remember off the top of my head. Because once again, I mentioned the thing about the names of enemies. And oh no, we're not going to be able to get that 500 coin, are we? Come on, Wario, go quickly. Okay, cool. There was enough time. I was worried that we couldn't get it. Even though I could have started hammering B a little bit sooner. And we probably would have been good. And oops, I missed that apple. Come on. Ringo Suki, I believe that's these guys' names. I'm probably just gonna call them Apple Monkeys because I don't know if Ringo Suki's the correct pronunciation or even its name. So, oh, and here's that second purple pipe that I was like starting to like panic that like did I actually see a purple pipe? I wasn't sure. But here we go, all good in the hood. And this is a purple pipe puzzle room configuration we're going to be seeing a few times, kind of repeated and built on, where you have to build kind of a staircase, not exactly a staircase, but you have to create platforms by, oops, I knocked the old man down. Now we're going to have to go ahead and deactivate this so we can get him back up there. This is a thing that we'll see in other rooms where it's like, oh, you're going to use Professor Arrowstein to go ahead and make platforms that you can traverse up, because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to get him all the way up here. Maybe if you were like super slick and like threw him onto that like yellow block, you could do it. And why can't I get off the stupid, I was stuck on the ladder there. That was weird. But hey, it all worked out. This one isn't very difficult. We're not going to be seeing difficult puzzle rooms for a little bit. Actually, I think there's going to be one in the next episode, because I actually already know how I'm going to section off all these episodes, because that's the kind of weirdo I am. I think there's one we'll see in the next episode, actually, that always throws me for a loop, even though it's not all that difficult. But there we have it. What do we have? We're missing one jewel piece. We've seen the keys, but we weren't able to pick it up, and we have the compact disc. We're all good. And actually, I want to show this off while we're here. So return, if you hit that, obviously unpauses the game. Quit will make you do a quick save, and if you hit quit, and then you can turn off the game, turn it back on, and you'll be able to restart from where you quit the level. But give up means that you... oh, I give up, I don't want to play this level anymore, and you'll forfeit all of the collectibles and be ejected from the level. And I feel like give up and return are pretty obvious, but quit's probably not the best way to phrase that, just because it's a little confusing. Let's go ahead and kill the monkey before it causes problems for us and makes us fat Wario and slows us down whenever we're just entering the post fold. Now that we've hit the post fold, there's something that I've failed to mention, and that's the frog blocks that we've seen. We saw them in the Hall of Hieroglyphs, and even in the, I believe there was some in the Palm Tree Paradise. But these blocks will be outlines. Some will be outlines and some will be solid, and they'll switch. So any solid ones you saw will become outlines in the post-fold, and any solid ones you see pre-fold will become transparent, creating new passageways you can go through, which introduces this new kind of post-fold, where you'll be going through new sections. This one isn't entirely new because, as you can see, we're actually just above the area we began the level with, which is really neat. So we're just kind of seeing a new passageway in a previously explored area, but a new part of it. And in the future, we'll start seeing entirely new areas altogether. And I don't want to hit that ceiling because that would make us end our Puffy Wario transformation. And now we can finally talk about why I was so intent on showing you guys that miscolored vine. And that's because I think it's a super good tell for, hey, there's something just beyond here. That it's a breakable block, and it's super cool because it's nicely flavored, because it's like, oh, it's a miscolored vine, it's a dead part of the vine. Of course it's weaker, and then on top of that, it's just a nice tell because you can immediately see, oh, there's something wrong with it. It's just a good tell, and I enjoy it. It gets you to a nice little secret area, and unfortunately my jumping reaction times seem to be bad, which lets us come back here, get this diamond, and we're leaving this level with much more money than we needed. We have 6,200 more coins than we needed. I probably didn't need to do the math there, but whenever I say things like that, I'm always like, oh, I should do the math, even though it doesn't really matter, and you guys obviously could have done it yourself. But hey, we got a ton of money in that level. We made way more than we should have. Should have. Hey, Wario wants all the money in the world, even if we're definitely not going to use it all, because I'm not going to be playing any more mini games. I got the 10 frog coins I wanted, or frog medals, excuse me. I wanted to show off things later in the LP. So we're all good in the hood. So we'll just be collecting money from now on, because that's how we roll. But that's Wildflower Fields. It's a nice level. It's a nice ramp up in difficulty and just in the game in general, from the Palm Tree Paradise to kind of show you, like, it's like, oh, okay, Palm Tree Paradise is like kind of like a tutorial, like showing you like, okay, here's what a full level looks like, sorta. But then you get to Wildflower Fields, it's like, no, here's a real full level. But in the next episode, we're gonna see another full level, but this one's gonna be full of water because it's time for the water level of the video game. So I hope you guys will join us next time when we finish up the Emerald Passage. See you guys then.